the illumination of the Emperor Napoleon on Albe Island by Mister Robert Pembroke. Unrelated by Mister Robert Pembroke.
Hello, my name is Robert Pembroke. I'm coming to you from a timeshare in Tuscany. Tuscany è una paese dell'Italia. Just over there is Isola dell'Alba, Alba Island in English.
Esatto.
And you can see my train set here. And as I was looking at my train set, I thought about this lighthouse here that I made with bits and pieces of scrap grocery products. And it occurred to me that there's a relationship between the Emperor Napoleon, his exile just over here on Alba Island, and what happened to him in battle, and what happened to him afterwards when they had to sue for peace because they'd actually lost the war. And that's why he ended up exiled on Alba Island. So what I'll do is I'll just describe to you how that came about, why it happened, how it happened, what it was all about, and what the significance of it is. And then I'll sing for you the song Alfie from the movie and stage play Alfie, starring the wonderful Michael Caine. So what I'll do is I'll have a go at it. But first I'll tell you the relationship of all this to the lighthouse. Okay, so I'm just looking at this train set, and it's got lots of things there that remind me of the world of Napoleon Bonaparte. Lots of things that tell me a little bit about him, yeah? Now let me see. Now Napoleon Bonaparte, in his country, they used the Julian calendar, and in northern climes, further north, they used the Gregorian calendar. In a place that would become Russia, they used the Gregorian calendar, and at the time it wasn't called Russia, it was called something else, and it was only when Vladimir Lenin commenced to develop the nature of socialism and communism that Russia became a nation state. The interesting thing about the Julian and Gregorian calendars is that they're completely different. So if you went by the Gregorian calendar, you would end up somewhere not at the same time as if you used the Julian calendar. And that was Napoleon Bonaparte's big mistake. And it's why he largely lost the War of Nations. He'd shown up in the battlefield with his troops for a decisive victory, and when he showed up there he was using the Julian calendar. So he and his troops almost froze to death waiting for the enemy to show up because they were using the Gregorian calendar, you see. Napoleon, he was using the Julian calendar, and the Russians, they were using the Gregorian calendar. Simple enough, isn't it? And so they ended up having to sue for peace because they got everything out of kilter. Everything was higgledy-piggledy, and they never showed up anywhere on time. And he himself, he ended up with frostbite. He almost died, and he was exiled to Elba. How he went there was he was, as an sent to Tuscany to recover from the battlefield. And there in Tuscany he was castrated and exiled to Elba, where he would recover from the castration. And while he was there on Elba, he was to tend to the lighthouse on Elba. And the lighthouse was a very special, magical presence in the life of mariners. It was fueled by an oil from whales, from the sperm whale. And ever since novels like Moby Dick, there's been this kind of relationship between whales and the largesse of the phallus They'd done that to Napoleon. They'd placed him there on Elba with a terribly serious wound to his genitalia, and he was to tend to the lighthouse being like a giant Freudian phallus or something, yeah? Now in contrast to that, in university curriculi, you might come across the work of Michel Foucault, and once again, a central emphasis in the work of Michel Foucault is a tower. In this case, in his history, it's the panopticon. It's a tower that stand and watch prisoners move about in a circular sort of amphitheatre of cells. Yeah? And so that's the contrast. You have Jeremy Bentham's modelling of a prison using a tower, and you have this imposition of an association between the lighthouse tower that was Napoleon Bonaparte's penance for having lost the war or something, yeah? It's rather interesting, eh? So what happened was they used an armillary to correct the nature of position in battle, and they also had, I think at that time they had also the portable clock of Mister Robert Hooke, or the French version of it, and they were all modellers, yeah. Mister Robert Hooke was a modeller, Napoleon Bonaparte was a modeller, Jeremy Bentham was a modeller, let me see, like Sir Christopher Wren, he was a modeller too. So modellers, they make cities and they destroy them as well. And that was a lot of Napoleon Bonaparte for having done so. Another lesser known secret, as a Halifax descendant, I know these things, there was on the top of the lighthouse tower during World War II, there was a set of concentric rings that symbolised the semaphore of the Royal Air Force, the RAF. If weather conditions turned sour, they could dip below altitude and look for the lighthouses because they knew there was this prominent set of concentric rings that they could use to reckon their position with a set of hills or mountains in the distance, etc. Yeah. So that's a bit of an association that I found with it. And as a child, I was genitally mutilated by another child, and I dare say it had some relationship to the sort of belief that you can essentially create the nature of a presence of energy or purpose or powerfulness or authority by mutilating another human being, and that was a lot of my It was my lot of life. I'm a modeller, I'm not a very good one. I made this with bits and pieces of garbage, okay? So I'm not a very good modeller. He was though, he was very good, and so was Christopher Wren. So Christopher Wren, Isaac Newton, let's see, Jeremy Bentham, all great modellers. They knew how to make models. You know what I mean? Okay, thanks very much. Robert Pembroke, the Cilla Black version of Alfie. What's it all about, Alfie? Is it just for the moment we live? What's it all about when you sort it out, Alfie? Are we meant to take more than we give? Or are we meant to be kind? And if only fools are kind, Alfie, then I guess it is wise to be cruel. And if life belongs only to the strong, Alfie, what will you lend on an old golden rule? As sure as I believe, there's a heaven above. Alfie, I know there's something much more, something even unbelievers can believe in. Oh, I believe in love, Alfie. Without true love, we just exist, Alfie. Until you find the love you missed, you're nothing, Alfie. When you walk, let your heart lead the way, and you'll find love any day.